Hey, y'all, it's Rick here with Uncommon Communion. And let me say out loud, because I put this in writing for yesterday, the 1st, happy 2026. I hope that your first day of the new year was a good one. I hope it was one where you did things that you want to do every day of 2026. I know I did. And I'll tell you a little bit about some of those here in just a moment. Before that, let us begin, as we always begin, by recognizing, celebrating, proclaiming, and most importantly, living from the reality that we are always and everywhere in the holy presence of the more and each other. So, yesterday, the 1st of January, I did a written post in the new style that I want to be doing with the Psalms. Unfortunately, y'all, I did not get a chance to write today, but I do appreciate this opportunity to just to let you hear a few words as opposed to just read some words. Now, there will be some words to read in the notes. I will be putting, as I have before, Father Ed's reflection for today. And also, you will find the text to Psalm 2 from the Indigenous translation, the First Nations, the First Peoples translation. And also, I will be putting the second Psalm, Psalm number 2, the version, the modern version that poor Bishop Hooper recorded. So you're going to get quite a bit to also read and watch beyond this. I'm glad, though, that you are watching this. So, the first day of the year is, I think, an important day. And I'm glad that I had the day off of work. I know a lot of people don't get it off. It's not quite the same as Christmas in some people's workplaces. For me, it was, and it is. And I also get Friday off, the 2nd, which is nice. It's not an official day off. I do have quite a bit of PTO and taking the day off, which will be nice. And on January 1st, it was a nice day. And again, I hope for you it was as well. I'm not a big football fan, I'll be honest. In fact, I did not watch any football over these last couple of days. And that includes the local home team that lost on New Year's Eve. Yeah. Nevertheless, I had a really nice New Year's Day, relaxing, hanging out with my wife. We had a couple games that we played, which was fun. And I went for a walk, which is something I really need to do every day. Not just a little walk around the block, but out to the neighborhood park and listen to music and really just had a good, vigorous walk. I know from my own experience that when I walk daily, I am in just a much better place. I know that I am better physically, better emotionally, better spiritually, psychologically, everything. I am better. So I hope, I'm committing to doing it every day. I did this once before a number of years ago, and it made a big difference. Because I think when you put a flag down and you say, I'm going to do something every day, it is motivating, at least for me, because the apps that I use for some of these, meditating every day, I have an app that it's called Bend, Bend, and it's all about stretching. And as I age, stretching is harder, and stretching it takes more effort, and it's not always fun. But this app is going to help me to do that. And I am one of those kind of people that likes to have that streak. I like to be able to see, today I did this and I've got 6 days or 12 days or whatever number of days. I like the streaks. And the nice thing about that is once I get a streak going, if I'm feeling unmotivated, if I'm feeling, I really don't want to do this, I got these other things I can do. Oh, darn it, I want to keep the streak. And I get out and do it. And for me, that is really important when it comes to good things, healthy things to do. So, I want to share with you Psalm 2, and I'm going to read it here in just a moment. It is very much in the mold of many of the Psalms. Because again, the thing to remember, I think, about the Psalms is these are very real human emotions. You know, tradition says that David wrote the majority of them, King David did. And that may be well the case. We don't really know, although most biblical scholars point to various types of evidence and writing and timing and so forth that probably lean against the hypothesis or the orthodox belief that David wrote all of it. So take that with a grain of salt. Most importantly, though, is the humanness of them. And you're going to hear that in this second psalm. Now, the first psalm, I didn't get a chance to comment too much on it, but it is again a familiar one. It begins in a very celebratory way, but it also has that remind, even in that first verse, that mindset that it is important. The way that we walk, the path that we follow matters because our whole life revolves around that, right? Whatever the foundation of our life is, whatever the ground of how we are being matters, right? And the psalmist reminds us of that right there in the very first verse, verse 1:1. Harmony and well-being rest on those who do not walk the path of the bad-hearted, the ones who do not stand with those who stir up disharmony, those who will not sit in a circle where others are spoken of with scorn and disrespect. Instead, they take joy in grandfather's clear instructions. As the sun and the moon circle the sky, they think deeply about his ways. I love that. Planetary Pilgrim right there. And I really hope that you enjoy this translation as much as I enjoy it, as I read it and pray with it and ponder it. Because not only does it put words into, words that we're familiar with in the majority of translations, English translations that we have probably encountered, but it really, I think, brings a different perspective, right? Just that idea of, taking joy, and as the sun and moon circle the sky, they think deeply about his ways, right? I don't know what the English translation, the typical English translation would be there, but I know it doesn't have that earthiness. It doesn't have that cosmic nature, pondering the sun and the moon and the stars, right? So I think we're going to find as we go through the Psalms, many of the Psalms have natural aspects, animals and so forth. I think we're going to find that this translation, it just humanizes it, and it brings it to earth, right? Brings it to the incarnate way that we are called to be on earth. So, number two, this is Psalm 2. I'll read it and then we'll wrap up with just some very brief reflection. Why do the nations snort like an angry buffalo? Why do they waste their time muttering and growling as they make foolish war plans? The chiefs of the land take their stand, and the war councils scheme together against grandfather and his chosen one. They make a war cry. Let us cut the ropes they have bound us with and set ourselves free. Grandfather, sitting in his seat of honor in the world above, laughs with scorn at them. His words soar like angry, sharp arrows that pierce their hearts with terror. I have chosen a chief who will represent me, he says to them as their knees tremble. I have set him high above all others on strong mountain, Zion, the home of my sacred village of peace, Jerusalem. Here is what grandfather says about this chosen one. You are my son. Today I make it known that I am your father. If you ask me, I will give all nations over to you. The four corners of the earth will become your sacred lands. You will guide them with a strong ironwood chief's staff, one that you can break and shatter them like pots of clay. So, you warring chiefs, be wise and take my words to heart. Let this be a warning to you, O rulers of the land. Serve grandfather with great respect and tremble with joy at his shining greatness. Humble yourselves before his son, or his fierce anger may burst into flame and leave you burned and charred. Like fire, his anger can be quickly kindled. But remember, harmony and well being rest on those who make him their medicine shield. Yeah, lots of words in there, snorting like an angry buffalo, even that last little bit, medicine shield, words that are very much from an indigenous worldview and experience. And again, I think they can inform us as well as we hear familiar ideas, perhaps if you're familiar with the Psalms, or perhaps unfamiliar that are going to, lead you to take another Bible off the shelf or look up, Psalm 2. How is it translated in a more typical, more traditional translation? So, with all of that in mind, I hope your January 2nd is another good one. And let us pray. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thy will, O God, not ours, be done. All right, y'all. Hope to write tomorrow. Blessing and good. Be well, be bold, hold fast, y'all.